Have you ever looked at a map of the world and wondered how the first people from different continents met? What would it be like if someone from very, very far away suddenly showed up at your front door? Speaking a language you'd never heard and looking completely different from anyone you knew? This isn't a movie. It really happened, and it changed the world. It's the story of how people from Europe met the peoples of the Americas. Two worlds colliding, but remember, the Americas were not empty. They were full of people, cities, and long histories. They had empires like the Aztecs and the Incas, farms and rich cultures, whole worlds already there. And on the other side, Europe was hungry for new roots, for spices, silk, and riches. What followed was curiosity, trade, conquest, and tragedy, all beginning in the late 1400s. So why did Europeans decide to sail an ocean they feared? The short answer? Dinner, pepper, cloves, nutmeg. Spices made food exciting and preserved it before refrigerators existed. For centuries, the Silk Road connected Europe to Asia, delivering silk, spices, and tea. But when the Ottomans took Constantinople in 1453, they controlled the western end and raised tolls. Imagine your favorite store suddenly charging a fortune to deliver. Europe wanted a cheaper road. Portugal tried the long way, sail around Africa to India. It worked, but it was slow. Another idea was bolder. Sail west, straight across the Atlantic. A shortcut, or so some thought. Enter a stubborn sailor who believed the world was smaller than experts said. That bold plan set the stage for the voyages to come. They needed ships, money, and a ruler brave enough to gamble on the unknown. Christopher Columbus was from Genoa, Italy. He had a strange idea: sail west to reach Asia. Most experts called him foolish. Courts in Portugal, France, and England said no. Columbus kept pushing until he reached Spain, where Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand were listening. Spain had just won a long war and wanted wealth, power, and to spread Christianity. After debate, Isabella took a gamble and funded Columbus, a huge royal risk. In August 1492, Columbus sailed with 3 ships and a nervous crew. Weeks of empty sea followed. Supplies ran low, fear grew, and the crew nearly mutinied. Columbus urged them to hold on just a little further, he said. Then, on October 12, 1492, land was sighted. The first European contact with the Americas that would start everything. Columbus landed in the Bahamas and thought he had reached the Indies, so he called the people Indians. The Taino who met him were peaceful and curious, greeting strange floating houses and strangers. At first, trade and curiosity defined the meetings, but darker intentions were there too. When Santa Maria wrecked, Columbus left men to found La Navidad, the first European settlement in the Americas. Back in Spain, he was hailed a hero, bringing parrots, captured Taino, and small bits of gold. News of land to the west sparked a race. Everyone wanted a piece of this new world. In 1493, Columbus returned with 17 ships, colonists, priests, and soldiers. Colonization had begun. They came to claim, to convert, and to look for riches, often at the expense of native peoples. What Columbus found was not Asia. It was 2 continents that would reshape history. Portugal was upset. They feared Spain's gains would block their African and Asian plans. It was like 2 kids spotting the same shiny toy and arguing over it. They asked the Pope to decide, and in 1494 the Treaty of Tordesillas drew a line down the Atlantic. West went to Spain, east to Portugal. An imaginary line that decided continents for people who never asked. By luck, a piece of South America fell on Portugal's side. That's why Brazil speaks Portuguese today. A line drawn on paper in Europe shaped the languages and cultures of millions of people. England and France laughed. They didn't answer to the Pope and went exploring anyway. The race for land was on, and the map of the world would be redrawn by ships and soldiers. When the continents met, they swapped everything: plants, animals, ideas, technologies, and diseases. Historians call this the Columbian exchange, a planet-wide remix of life. Tomatoes. Imagine Italy without them. They came from the Americas. Potatoes, which helped feed Europe and led to population growth. Corn, chocolate, vanilla. Foods that changed diets around the world. Europeans brought horses, cows, pigs, and metal tools, transforming many American societies. Metal tools, guns, and the wheel changed warfare and farming. But they also brought invisible killers: smallpox, measles, and influenza. Native peoples had no immunity. Disease spread faster than armies and destroyed whole communities. Historians estimate that within a century, up to 90% of some populations died, a catastrophe hard to imagine. New crops like sugar became hugely profitable, and that profit demanded heavy labor. As native labor declined, Europeans turned to another tragic solution: enslaved Africans. The transatlantic slave trade brought millions of Africans to the Americas in brutal conditions. Spain found huge centralized empires, the Aztecs and the Incas, worth conquering. Conquistadors like Cortés used steel weapons, horses, and alliances with rival tribes to win. Pizarro took advantage of Inca internal conflict and disease to topple an empire. Once conquered, colonists built new towns and forced Native Americans into mines and plantations. Missionaries pushed Christianity, temples were torn down, and traditions suppressed. Work in mines like Potosi was brutal and deadly for those forced to toil there. Many resisted. Some fought fiercely, but the combination of weapons and disease was overwhelming. Others adapted and preserved what they could, blending old and new in resilient ways. The result was a transformed homeland. Loss, change, and also survival. Entire villages emptied. Languages and traditions were pushed to the brink. Records tell stories of suffering, but also of people who kept their cultures alive. Through pain and endurance, many communities survived, and their descendants still honor those traditions today. Spain and Portugal led the early wave, but England and France wouldn't be left out. Explorers like John Cabot and Jacques Cartier searched for a northwest passage and new trade routes. The French often built trade partnerships with native tribes, especially for furs. Furs became a valuable European fashion item, fueling friendly alliances and trade networks. England's approach focused on building new homes: Jamestown, Plymouth, permanent settlements. That often meant pushing Native Americans off the land, causing long conflicts. So by the end of the 1500s, three models existed: Spanish conquest, French trade, and English settlement. Each left different legacies in the parts of the Americas they controlled. The colonization story is not simple. Wonder and discovery, yes, but also suffering and loss. Decisions by kings and explorers reshaped languages, foods, borders, and human lives. Think about this. What does it mean to discover a place where millions already live? How would you feel if strangers came and told you your home was now theirs? Asking hard questions helps us learn and be more thoughtful about the past and present. Honor the resilience of Native and African peoples who endured and kept traditions alive. Also remember the unexpected gifts, foods and ideas that connected the world. The most important lesson is empathy, to try and understand life from many perspectives. So next time you look at a world map, remember, every line was drawn by people, and every story has many voices. If this made you think, leave a comment. And if you want to learn more, check the linked sources below.